Hello, Waswere here, back with another video, and today we are going to quickly go over the rewards from the Glacier front of God Wars Dungeon 3. Last week they dropped that T95 dual-wield melee weapons would be coming with the Glacier front, and today they dropped the rest of the rewards. I know that's the reason why you're here, so let's go through it. First off, we have the weapons. They start out at T85, and then they can be further upgraded to T95. The main hand sword requires various things to make. 25 Glacier Remnants, which are a common drop from the boss and the Slayer creatures around it. 5 Dark Nihilises, which is a rare crafting ingredient, and it appears that it would come from normal mode and hard mode based on the news post. And then 10 Blackstone Hearts and 2 Glorious Bars, which already exist in the game. The offhand, which I'll scroll down here to get, also has a passive effect. When worn, the melee ability Hurricane can be cast while dual wielding. This effect is usually locked to two-handed weapons only, so this way you can Hurricane while wielding this dagger. At the same time, Hurricane and Destroy no longer share a cooldown, so you can go Hurricane and then you can Destroy. Previously in DPS rotations, you kind of only had to do one or the other, so your rotation was based on your adrenaline and whether you had enough, and now you can kind of fit both of them in. This is great because it's often found in Zerg rotations. You run out of thresholds to use. I know I've had a couple Relentlesses where I'm like, what the hell do I do? And I end up just quaking at the end. So this way I can throw in either a Hurricane or a Destroy depending on what I didn't use before. I'm unsure of how it fully changes rotations, especially for a pre-Barge player, as someone who has the T85 weapons would have, as most of the time there you just use Assault and Destroy, and those are the only 2 thresholds you get off in your Zerg. But it looks like it's a big buff to the damage one can output on a single target. Now with hard mode, you can upgrade these weapons to T95, giving it the highest accuracy and damage for melee in the game. The recipe is very similar, however, it also takes a Frozen Core of Leng, which is the super rare hard mode exclusive drop that everyone's going to be vying for. This weapon has the same passive as the previous tier, where Hurricane and Destroy no longer share a cooldown, and you can use it with dual wield. The main hand also has a special effect where the hit cap is increased by 30% for 60 seconds. This alongside with the Grim and Smoke Cloud brings your hit cap close to 20k, meaning basically that while the special attack is up, you're not going to hit the hit cap, and you'll just hit whatever you do. They later confirmed that the special attack cost of this is 20%. You can use it pre-Zerk, sit at 100%, use the special attack, use Havoc or another basic abilities, then a defensive to get back up to 100%, and then you can Zerk and do your normal Barge rotation with an incredibly high hit cap. On top of the weapons, there are 3 glove upgrades. They each require a Leng artifact, which is a rare crafting ingredient that is available when all 5 mechanics are turned on in normal mode or if hard mode is used. So it's probably going to be a little bit cheaper knowing it's available in normal mode. It upgrades the gloves from T85 to T90, which should be 1 more style bonus, tying it with the Death Touch bracelet at 14.5. The 3 gloves are Nightmare Gauntlets for range, Gloves of Passage for melee, and Carapace Wrist Wraps for melee. Speaking of Gloves of Passage, they added a new special effect to it to bring it in line with the Carapace Wrist Wraps and Nightmare Gauntlet gloves. After the Havoc or Smash ability has been successfully used, your next melee attack within 6 seconds deals 10% increased damage, and the target takes 20% increased damage from bleeds for 10 seconds. I'm unsure if those bleeds are for melee abilities only, abilities you cast only, or other people's bleeds also work for that. If it's other people, that's going to be very good for group PVM. This is an incredibly minor upgrade for the other 2 styles, and it'll fall into the gear purchase order incredibly late due to its small increase in DPS, much like the EOF ornament kits or the Shadow Spike boot upgrades. However, for the Gloves of Passage, it might end up being a little bit earlier due to this new ability. And due to the Gloves of Passage, the Leng artifact price is going to be held up pretty high, where it's not as viable for mage and range. There are some cosmetic rewards which can be crafted with the Glacier Remnants and Dark Nihilus. I don't care too much for this, as they're tradable. If they were untradeable based on like a certain enrage that you earned and then you could show off with it, that would be really cool, but they're just an untradeable wing that isn't for microtransactions, so I guess that's nice. For the pet, there is a tiny little Arc Glacier. Looks really cool. It's small too, so it'll be really nice for PVM without familiars getting in the way. I really like it. They haven't really said how the pet drop rate's going to work with normal mode or hard mode. I'm hoping it's pretty hard to get in normal mode and it's a more hard mode exclusive pet, unlike Carapac was, but we'll see what turns out. And the last item is the Scripture of Wen. It has the same passive stats as the Scripture of Jas, slightly beating out the Illuminated Godbook. The special attack's Sheer Cold, which has a chance to summon an Icy Beam for 3.6 seconds that attacks anything standing in it. Once they've been hit 5 times by that beam, it shatters for 400% damage. Sounds really good and can probably compete with the Jas Book and Scrimshaws, and will be really good for any sort of AoEing down. So if you're doing like Edemus and you have like 10 Edemus stacked in that area where the Icy Beam goes off, then you can do a ton of AoE damage very quickly. Overall, I'm beyond excited to try out all these new things and looking forward to jumping on the melee train early. I have a couple billion shards, but I'm gonna have to dip into my loot tab, so we might have a bit of a fire sale one day on some of the mainstay items that have been in the tab since May of last year. Let me know in the comments down below what you think of the rewards. But past that, have a good day, and I'll catch you in the next one.